So once we left London, we again had trouble on the roads.
It's raining, but it's nice.
To Canterbury was a city we ended up stopping in and getting lunch.
John, where are we?
We're in Canterbury, where we eat at the pub, the Irish pub, but it's not really Irish, it's English.
I'm so freaking tired.
Try counting sheep.
I think that the cathedral in Canterbury was by far the most profound.
You looked through the arch and there was this big church out there and it had just rained and it was really green and nice and everything. That was a really beautiful church.
Like I said, seriously enchanting. It just took our breath away as far as how amazing it was. We slept in some farmer's field that night just outside of Dover, and the next day we went on into Dover and caught the ferry back over to Belgium.
That day we assumed that we'd be somewhere up in Brussels.
That was probably the coldest, most miserable part of the trip.
And I remember stopping under that bridge where we all kind of huddled together and ate that crappy sausage.
It smelled like cow feces, and it was stinky and rotten and cold, but it was so much better to be under that overpass than to be out in the cold, wet rain.
Okay, so we did have an encounter with the police. We were riding on this big highway. There was a cop car that came up behind us and then pulled over in front and waved us all over and took our visas and stuff. They made us get off the road, but they just checked us out.
And the first major city that we're going to is Bruges. And it just so happens that there's a city in France called Burgess that we thought was Bruges. And we got to Burgess and realized that we were heading south instead of northeast.
Yeah, that's right. We're in Burgess.
Jumping, in case they survive. I wish I could step from this scaffold onto soft green pastures, shopping malls, or bed with my family and my pastor and my grandfather.
Ghent and Bruges, you see the prominent architecture and then you turn around and there's another piece of prominent architecture.
The cobblestone streets, the old churches, and just the way the cities were set up in Belgium, I thought was the best representation of a classic European city of what I had in my mind.
I think one of the other benefits of the whole experience was the Belgian waffles, you know. Especially with Dale there, you know, he could finagle a good price out of anybody.
The next city we visited was Brussels.
I loved riding into cities because you just feel kind of triumphant, like you're a knight coming to conquer the city or something. And we knew we were gonna have a good time there. So what happened is we were trying to find a hostel here in town, and the cheap one that we were gonna stay at was all full.
That's when I got my ticked off mood, because I mean, going to every flipping hostel, I mean, it's driving me nuts.
Then finally I was like, well, why don't we just camp in the park? Freak, that'd be sweet.
We were just riding around and we went to eat.
Wait, we bartered for our dinner. Like, we were standing there in front of two different guys were giving us better deals. We just kind of waited for them.
And where we went to eat, there happened to be some college people come in.
And when we were sitting down and eating our kebabs, two of us had mirrors on our glasses, and we thought a couple of the girls were cute.
So they were like checking the girls out in their mirrors and stuff.
And actually one of the guys came up to us and told us that the girls wanted to talk to us.
And we met some hot American girls and stuff from the University of Texas.
Spencer asked to sleep at their apartment, and we're all going to. It's going to be great. No, they offered us a place to stay.
And they invited us to go to an Irish pub, to an Irish karaoke bar. When the girls are all getting drunk and we're all up on stage, John and I and Billy, we're all up on stage, and they all thought Jared was cute, all of them.
Once he saw that they all liked him because he was such a big stud, that he said, oh, I'm going to go hang out with Dell, you know. And so
I didn't really feel like I wanted to get to know these girls because I had Megan at home.
They're like, what's wrong with that kid? Why is he not very social? And finally we told them, and they thought he was gay or something like that.
Be careful, be careful.
We didn't get out of there until like 2 in the morning. And Jared wanted to go to an internet cafe, and I always want to.
But then when the girls decided they were ready to leave, we couldn't find Jared or Dale. They were gone.
And we were all a little frustrated, and the girls were too, and they're just like, why don't you guys have cell phones? And after probably 45 minutes of waiting for them, they finally showed up, and then we were able to go to the house.
We all took a taxi to their house, and we thought it was like their own apartment, but when we got there, it was just this big house, and we had to go up like 3 flights of stairs to get to the top.
Lo and behold, it's not just their place. They're staying with some family from Belgium.
We get there, they're like, don't wake up the baby. Like, what? There's a family here? Yeah, they don't know you're here.
And we didn't know that, of course, and we didn't realize that we weren't supposed to be there. They were going to try and sneak us in.
And as we were going to sleep, I just remember how funny it was, because we were all in these strangers' apartment, and we were just all nasty in our sleeping bags, and we were all just kind of giggling and laughing because it was just so like weird.
And then, next thing we know, it's like 5:30 in the morning and the lights are turned on.
The man in the house comes in and just sees us all in his house, 5 guys in there, just laying on his floor.
But I'm thinking, this guy's wondering, why are there 4 men in my house?
But it ended up that we had a bag that we'd taken from the taxi driver.
And he says to me, the taxi driver came back and wants his bag back. I guess you guys took it or something. And I jump up and everyone else is still asleep.
I kind of pretended not to be awake so that somebody else could take care of the problem. So we looked through and we found his bag and we gave it back to them. And then we took off as fast as we could.
Bob's heavy, Bob's heavy.
We felt really bad because the girls got a note from their lady. Left a note, we need to talk, you know, it's the classic, you know, we need to talk. You know you're in deep poo when somebody says, we need to talk.
Spencer had the overall top police story when we were in Brussels.
We went to some little swap in the middle of town in Brussels, and Billy bought this bike, and he wanted the pedals off the bike.
But he couldn't get this one pedal off, so he straps the whole bike to the back of Spencer's bike, because Spencer was the master of putting things on his bike like that.
So he has a bicycle frame on the back of his bike, and he's just riding around, weaving it out of people on the cobblestone roads.
And this lady is standing there talking to her friend or something, and she backs up into my bike as I'm riding past her. One of the parts on that frame hooked onto her purse and slammed her to the ground and started dragging her.
All of a sudden I just hear Spencer yell, "Hey John, wait up!" And so I turn around, and he's just sitting there looking at his bike, shaking his head, and there's a lady next to him, and she's just crying.
And then, like, her friend comes over and it's like, you can't leave. You can't leave. You have to stay right here. And then the police come over.
And there's Spencer with the police officers and, like, this woman that was kind of hysterical. And
then they had me and John get into the police vehicle.
We got Spencer marvin it up old school style.
I thought for sure I was going to be just busted and out of luck.
That's right, he's pissing. And he's called Mannequin Piss, too.